think seeking is a really beautiful thing in many ways, because if one really hones in on it like a little carrier pigeon, you can follow that trail home, because the seeking for me is actually coming out of that which knows that there's division. There's something that feels off. We feel out of alignment or out of sync inside. And I remember feeling that way, and how it began kind of in me as a older child and then a young adult. And then it really gave me the direction to want to go back home and return back to that sense of undividedness, that wholeness that I used to experience. So I don't think we seek after something we don't know. We know inside that there's something that we're wanting.
Welcome to Letting Go and the Greatest Secret, where we explore the end of your suffering and the beginning of lasting happiness. I'm Hale Dwoskin, and today I'll be joined by Susanne Marie. Susanne Marie offers teachings in support of freedom and the celebration of our common essence of love and unity with all life. She is the parent of 2 young adults and offers spiritual mentoring, online and in-person group facilitation, as well as retreats. Can you tell the listeners and viewers just a little bit about how you ended up talking about non-duality?
I'm happy to try.
Well, whatever comes up is fine.
Yeah. Well, it's been pretty much a lifetime journey to want to come back home to myself. And in my early 20s, I deepened in the exploration and kind of sped the journey up through intention with meditation and yoga and so on. And then towards the end of my 20s, I had children, and I was teaching in Waldorf school.
Yes.
And I was kind of wondering what I would like to do that felt maybe even more in alignment with what was happening inside, which was I was deepening in what I call unity consciousness, which is when you feel yourself connected to all of life, to the wholeness.
Yes.
And so I just started to have this feeling that I was meant to share more openly. I was already sharing in my living room with small groups and some one-on-one over tea. And
good place to do it.
I still would like that, actually, to meet over tea primarily.
Yes.
And I really got this beautiful invitation. I thought, well, I'm not going to start sharing unless I really get this invitation from life.
Yes.
And the invitation came in many ways. And so I stepped forward and started to meet with people in groups. And it kind of went from there. It actually was very graced.
Yes.
It happened all very beautifully. The unfoldment of it was very beautiful, very natural.
Yes,
actually.
Natural is often the key.
No pushing, no.
Yes.
But I was happy with the work I was doing with children. So there was no, I guess what one could say maybe like an ego impulse. I didn't feel that.
Yes.
It was more just falling into place, like with what I was meant to do.
Yes.
Which was to share this naturally.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And do you still work with children too, or did that fall away?
No, that fell away. Yeah. I work sometimes with parents who have small children. My children are now young adults. Yeah. So.
That's great. And so what would you say is the message that you share? And again, whatever comes. I understand that it's not something you have prepackaged. Just see what comes out now.
No, it's good that I don't have it prepackaged, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, like the 2-minute airplane seat message. Like,
right. And
I
there's
could
no
never
time
figure
limit.
it out. So you asked, what is my message?
Yes. Or what messages that usually comes through?
That it is our birthright to live our true nature, which is live in an integrated way where we are able to feel the wholeness that we are
Mm.
and the interconnection that we have with one another and with all nature, with all of life, that it's our birthright. And that I love supporting people in being able to return back to their being, which we share. We share the same being, you know?
Yes.
We're all unique individuals, but we share the same being.
Yes.
So that's really my message. And the avenues it takes can be very fun and creative because everybody's unique.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that's primarily the goal, is that everybody can come home and remember themselves. Yeah.
So, how does this unfold for people when they're called by this one beingness that all is?
Well, isn't it unique and individual how it unfolds? Yeah. I think it really depends, Hale, on how much people have actually kind of lost themselves in the imagination, you know, what they've taken themselves to be and lost themselves out in the world of, you know, this beautiful world, this shimmering creative world that's so easy to lose oneself in.
Yes.
And imagine that we're going to find our intrinsic wholeness, that feeling that people seem to start missing inside, that they're going to find it outside of themselves. And so the journey home is just so unique. It's so individually tailored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So really, in something that maybe we all share perhaps is that it takes a kind of just like this shift of pulling back one's attention from being outwardly projected, meaning kind of just imagining that the world, life is where we're going to find our ultimate fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
So the shift to put that attention and pull that attention back, like the sea is returning, you know, back to itself, you know, the tide returning. It's kind of like that. So this inner tide comes back, and this outward leaning energy is first one notices that one is doing that, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And then it's a path of a yogi, a yogini, or, you know, spiritual. The spiritual search is really one of turning within, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
That's where it begins for most of us. Is
exactly. So we share that. That's something we do share in common. You know, how it happens and all that takes place is very unique. But that's something that I like to support people in and help people bring their attention to how they're losing themselves out in the world, you know? Imagining that a relationship or a job or anything is really going to, in the end, bring them this ultimate fulfillment.
yes.
It lies right here, as you know.
Yes. Yeah, we're always looking for this is not my quote, obviously, but we're always looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah, I know. I remember that. Yeah, exactly. And we've been taught that since we were little, you know.
Yes, yes.
I saw it with my own children, how that so easily can happen with the children I used to work with. And it's kind of a developmental thing. It's not bad per se at all, because, you know, there's a whole journey that we take here in terms of becoming individuated. But then I think that the possibility lies that each person can um, hopefully mature into having had enough of the exploration of playing with personality and seeing who we are out in the world, and maybe a little bell starts to ring inside, like, what else? I wonder what else is going on here, you know.
Right.
Maybe there's more.
Yes. And Is there really a difference between the inward focus and the outward focus, or is on some level aren't they the same thing?
What do you mean by outward focus in this
Well,
case?
in this case, you're mentioning coming back in
Yeah.
or withdrawing from our projecting this whole imaginary world. But is there actually a boundary between this world that we imagine and our what's actually happening or what actually is true?
Well, that in the end, no. In the end, no. But I think that it comes in stages, that understanding,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's almost like this, the intelligence of life starts to help us to remember to return home. And the intelligence kicks in and says, there's meditation, there are all these ways to be able to turn one's attention within and start to find out that what we're looking for lies within. The
Yes.
the sense of completion that people are looking for lies within. And that's, free of all the qualities that we tend to get lost in. It's actually very free.
Yes. That's freedom itself.
Right. So when that's touched on and actually lived, like it's meaning that it's abiding, meaning that it's always here, no matter what you end up doing out in the world, enjoying the beauty of some trees or speaking with somebody that you like or whatever you do, that feeling of home within doesn't leave you.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the inside and outside start to become one.
Yes.
Right. But there's this fascination, as you know, that takes place, and I fell in under its spell enough to know how to talk about it.
Yes.
So there's this fascination that takes place where it seemingly covers over our essence.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So to kind of dehypnotize ourselves and be willing to drop the fascination, and it's a bit of a going into the desert kind of metaphor.
Yeah, I can't feel that way. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, are there any specific things that are, or general things that you do, or like, is there a meditation that you recommend people do, or is this more conversational where you just find out where someone is, where they are in their journey, and then you try to help them move forward in their journey? Is that what you do?
Yeah, I don't have a one size fits all kind of teaching, although I do have lots of meditations and podcasts and audios for people. And interestingly, we kind of were, in many ways, all of us are kind of similar in certain ways, even if we're coming at this journey from different points of view.
Yes.
Sometimes the heart really wants to be engaged, and the heart is a intelligent guidance system, and perhaps it wants to wake up in a person and come forward and help with the integration process of this inside outside. There's an integration process that starts to happen where we start to be able to want to include the outside and know that it's aspect of God as well. It's that.
Yes. Yes.
So the heart really helps with that, and the intelligence of the heart, the unconditional heart.
Yes.
And so I do have some meditations for the heart. I do have some meditations and guidance for like the spatial awareness that is more like the mind,
Yes.
the mind and its capacity to include everything as itself, which is oneness, right?
Mm-hmm.
That everything's included in this larger, vaster space that we are. That's very mind. That's like the potential of mind, the the beauty of mind.
Yes.
So in that way, we're all kind of similar, where we can benefit from different pointers in a way. And
Yes.
I'm not the only one. There are teachings throughout time that point to this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so do you have, you mentioned both the heart, focusing on heart, or letting the intelligence of the heart guide, and also getting a sense of the spaciousness that is that within which all appears. Do you have something you could do that's short on one or both of them that you'd be willing to share? Now, if it's too long or you don't feel comfortable, that's fine. One of the things I like to do, if someone is in these broadcasts, is I like to find things that we can share with our audience that they can explore immediately. I mean, everyone gets benefit from just the conversation. And
no, I hear you. But I like the fact that you bring in real tools.
Yes.
Yeah, that are really useful and helpful. Let me see. I'm going to tune in and see which direction it wants to go.
Oh, yeah, please.
Whether the heart wants to come out and speak, or whether it's the spacious awareness, because it can go in either direction.
Yes.
And both come to the same place.
Yes, yes.
I always tune in and get the guidance from within, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
And sometimes I like to just kind of feel into maybe who might even be listening to this.
Oh, absolutely.
Future, you know? Yeah, I think the heart is coming forward.
Good.
Yeah. So first, I like to just invite people to bring the breath and imagine that there's an opening right here in your heart. And for instance, like just where you're, as if your nose was right here in your heart, and you're breathing in and out from the center of the heart. And so you breathe in and you imagine that breath is coming in through the heart. And then when you breathe out, you imagine that the breath is leaving the heart center. So just do that a few times, just to get into this heart space, invite it forward, because the heart's just waiting. It's just waiting to come forward. And whatever might be there, like sometimes some little fear can come up for people. I don't know, it just kind of, the tendrils that are in the heart, they can be a little vulnerable, a little sensitive. It's kind of like a stringed instrument. So you breathe in through the heart, and it's starting to move whatever is there, actually. It's not just empty. And then you invite it to leave and breathe out through the heart area. So it's helping to make space, make room. Because the way that I see it is there's like this human heart, and that's the human heart is the heart that's kind of tender. The human heart is the heart that feels vulnerable and has maybe had the heart broken, through experiences.
Yes.
Maybe a little shut down, some experiences that have been painful. We all have had them. It's very normal and natural. So when we breathe in this way, what we're inviting is the human heart to just release enough and let go enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. To invite the unconditional loving heart that lies right behind it. So we're inviting the unconditional loving heart to make an appearance, to appear. And the unconditional heart shines like the sun. It really does. It shines on everything equally. There's no judgment. There's all the things that the human heart, the more dualistic heart, let's say, It's not bad or wrong. It's just doing its very best
Yes.
to navigate this world. It's not an easy thing to do all the time. But we're breathing through the heart inside, and we're touching onto the unconditional heart there that's like the sun, and it's supporting the human heart now. It's shining through and saying, I'm here. And then we breathe out and still let the human heart just release and let go. And this is an exercise that people can practice on their own as much as you want to. You can breathe in. It really helps stir the energy when we breathe into the heart space. It really helps stir it. It helps it vibrate. And then breathe out. And it's really validating to feel it's not just imagination. And then the heart, the more that one does this, the more it can let go and relax and start to feel into the safety, this natural organic safety that is here. And the unconditional heart is saying, all is welcome. You are welcome just as you are. This heart that feels a little bit fragile, perhaps, let's say. I don't know. That people will be feeling what they feel. But whatever you're feeling, it's welcome. And so the unconditional heart says, you are beautiful and allowed to be just as you are. Nothing needs to change right now. And so what this can invite is a practice, actually, that where we can invite all kinds of things that arise in us that feel a little shaky, a little fragile, unsure, little, maybe some unworthiness, this kind of very human stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really useful to have something that it's like the lap of God, the lap of the Divine Mother, whatever you want to see it as,
Mm-hmm.
that we're in good hands, and there's something greater that is embracing this human condition, just as you are. And so this is a practice that I myself did in various ways for years, where I just let things come home, and be embraced by that which doesn't live in duality,
Yes.
the unconditional heart. And people can continue this as much as they want. I do recommend to having maybe practice for 5 minutes at first, and then one can extend it a bit, because a lot will get stirred up, Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Do you find that when people take on this practice, often what will happen is, even when they're not doing the practice, their heart just becomes more of an open, welcoming space for all that's happening? Is that part of what happens for people?
I think so, Hale. At the same time, I have noticed that some people might need a little nudge of including the heart in their practice, because sometimes some people are more like wired to be more like head oriented.
Yes, yes.
And so they may be really attracted to like transcendent teachings, where all is included, but more in an abstract way.
Yes.
And so sometimes when I work with people, I can tell where they're at,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the body's very intelligent. It senses. They can kind of see, oh, there's some balance that can be brought here. And there's some heart that wants the intimacy of experience wants to be awoken to, and for a realization to actually deepen. that it's not just everything's included in a real kind of abstract, kind of spacious way, but that everything is included very intimately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's actually, in a way, asking for more, I don't know, willingness to meet experience in an intimate way is, I think it's bringing realization or awakening or whatever one wants to call it deeper.
Hmm.
It's a deeper understanding that you don't lose yourself no matter what's happening, even if no matter what you're feeling, for instance.
Yes. Yes. That's an important learning in the beginning, that you don't have to worry about losing yourself in the emotional or the mind content. That's all within that one heart or one space or beingness, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing apart from that.
Sorry?
There's nothing apart from that.
Nope. And you say in the beginning, and I agree. And guess what? It's, in my opinion, it's in the beginning, it's in the middle, and it's also towards the end, like
Yes.
the further one goes, because it gets more and more subtle.
Yeah, I can see how. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the sense of welcoming or allowing what is to be as it is something that definitely appears to deepen over time.
I
Doesn't
think
it?
it really does. Because God, or that, I like to change words around,
Yes, it's good. Yeah.
Yes. So that nobody goes, God doesn't resonate, or God does resonate. People have different feelings about it, but it's really all the same one thing.
Yes, definitely.
It's infinite. So if it's infinite, then maybe our growth and our ability to keep opening to what we contain and what the world is all about is also kind of endless.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is humbling. It's good. It's good to always be humbled and feel like, in a way, you're a beginner.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because the anything we think we know, that we can get lost in a loop of knowingness, no matter what that is.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is one of the traps of just focusing on the mind. It's all just I know, and that always has its limits. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the I know can only go so far.
I agree. And then one can get boxed in by one's own imagination of what we know. And maybe we do know something, but then if we're not breathing life into it, and if it's not porous, if it's not growing through letting go of what we know, actually, right?
Right.
Then one can get boxed in and then operate again through, I don't know, just sort of a imagined self.
Yes.
Imagined self can come back in.
Yes. As well, as long as there's any sense of self, there is. It tends to the imagined self comes and goes, but that which truly is doesn't. It just is. And so, as long as that imagined self is believed in any way, there is a tendency for it to, as you mentioned, come back more and more subtly.
Yeah, exactly. And it behooves one to keep being a bit in the beginner's mind.
Yes.
Yeah, so that life can continue with its evolutionary journey through oneself.
Yes.
It has intelligence. It knows what it's doing. It knows how to keep deepening and growing in its potential, right?
Yeah. The human side of us has unlimited potential.
Yeah.
And then that which has no sides is already all.
I agree.
And that's exact, and there's no conflict between the two. That's another place. Don't you find that's another place where people get confused, is they think there's a conflict or there's two separate worlds almost, whereas it really is just
Yeah.
already just this one boundless energy, which you have called God and other things.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, well, it's confusing until the that subject object polarity, which is what we call duality, while we see ourselves as an object, until that collapses,
Yes,
then
exactly.
it no longer is confusing. But until then, it is confusing. But there's some impulse that kind of trusts it and knows it. And I think seeking is a really beautiful thing in many ways, because it's, if one really hones in on it like a little carrier pigeon, you can follow that trail home, because the seeking, to for me, is actually coming out of that which knows that there's division. There's something that feels off. We feel out of alignment or out of sync inside. And I remember feeling that way, and how it began kind of in me as a older child and then a young adult. And then it really gave me the direction to want to go back home and return back to that sense of undividedness, that wholeness that I
Yes.
used to experience. So it was, I don't think we seek after something we don't know. We know inside that there's something that we're wanting.
Yes. Yes. And it's interesting. It can appear that people want different things, but wouldn't you agree that ultimately everyone's really wanting the same thing? It just may appear different to different people.
I think so. And then if you maybe speak to someone, and it's not like everybody should be doing this kind of work. It's
Absolutely.
something that and however it appears, it's something that really is comes forward in a person. And it's kind of like an inner ripening, that maybe one has had enough of seeking what this what one wants, and to help feel that intrinsic wholeness inside, that it's not going to come through these different avenues. There's maybe a drying up period that happens. A lot of people will feel unfulfilled and just discontent, right? I mean, that's kind of
Yes.
unfortunately, it's really pervasive. And the potential, the possibility is that it's that maybe it will make somebody want to, and it does, obviously, because you and I both know people who this is ultimately important, right?
Yes.
Maybe your
Many.
audience,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, is that there's this internal guidance that says there's a way to actually find this contentment in another way.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're right. I agree that it's showing up in myriads of ways, and I never want to make it wrong. The only time that I find it heartbreaking is when someone is very miserable because of it, and they don't know how to change it, or when we create pain on the outside, you know, through this expression of feeling separate, how it creates pain on the outside,
Mhm.
to nature, to one another, and so on.
Yes.
That's when I but maybe on a collective level, maybe it's just a sign that it's time for the big wake up bell, not just on the individual
Ding!
level.
Oh, absolutely. Well, even though this is just a story, it does feel like that bell is tolling. Often, when there's the appearance of tremendous external turmoil, the pull to that which is beyond this sense of turmoil gets stronger, and there are more and more expressions of it, having that we're all already home, whether we know it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And life, intelligence, God, you know, whatever you want to call it, this expression, the way that I see it, this expression of form, everything that's form, including our bodies, including thoughts, including
Yes.
feelings and beautiful nature and all the expression that's harmonious and seemingly disharmonious is actually, to me, this is an aspect of that. It's an aspect of God, and it's discovering itself, it's learning about itself, it doesn't just want to only be in the silent stillness that it is. It obviously became manifested. The breath of God emerged and sang itself into being. And here we are. And I see it as the beauty of emptiness and form meeting.
Yes, yes.
We are emptiness and form. And both are just as powerfully God essence as anything is.
Yes. Well, they're this on the deepest level, they're the same. The emptiness is form, and form is emptiness. There's
On the deepest level, yes.
yes.
Yeah. 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 Even the story.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, all of it. And I think that's when things really start getting interesting and fun.
Yes.
You know that
Yes.
all of it is that. And you can start maybe playing with it, playing your, enjoying.
Yes. Yes. The less there's this, the subject object illusion, as it collapses, there's just this natural, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just this joyousness and peacefulness that is completely uncaused.
Yeah, it's I call that our birthright.
Yes.
That is our birthright, and it's not the end. It's really kind of like another beginning.
Yes. Yes.
It's another beginning where we start to live more our potential of being here without being lost or searching, right?
Yes.
Where we're finally here. Like I can see this tree and I'm not projecting onto this tree. It's not an object in my awareness.
Yes.
So it's maybe it's the way that people long ago lived, more natural, people, our ancestors, maybe when they were more connected to
Yes.
the earth and they were walking this earth. But the thing is that I see that we learn a lot, Hale, through so-called losing ourselves. There's a lot that gets gained too, especially when we return back to this sense of intrinsic wholeness.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
This amazing journey that has taken place. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The mind will panic from time to time through this process, but at the same time, there's this sweetness and warmth and light and love that is inherent in all that appears to be manifest, and it's effortless. It's and natural. It's natural.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, love is part of true nature,
Yes.
love. So the unconditional heart that just naturally loves all that's arising.
Yes.
Is the sweetness, I think, that you're sort of talking about.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you call, I call it unconditional love, and you call it what'd you call it again? The unconditioned heart. Yes.
Yeah, I call it unconditional love too.
Yes. Yes.
I'll use that as well.
Well, they're synonyms.
Yeah, exactly. But it's something that's accessible to everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the unconditional love, the heart, the spacious awareness. These are different. Well, it's available to everybody. It's part of our being.
Yes.
It's hardwired into us.
Yes. Yes. Well, again, I totally agree with that, and it is This is unconditional love. This is the unconditioned heart. This, all of it
Yeah, it is.
already.
It is. And I think the more that we are able to land as that,
Yes, yes,
the more that the challenges and the difficulties and the things that we find hard, the things that are harder to integrate, you know, that they come knocking at our door saying, include me too,
right.
include the fact that human beings suffer,
Yes,
and all these things that sometimes in spirituality people want to shy away from because
yes,
it's maybe too much to integrate because it, and I understand that, but honestly everything ends up being welcome, not that everything is okay,
right.
and that we have, like we say, yes, that's a, that's totally okay. It's more like it can be okay or not okay in the vastness that we are.
Yes,
Both can be true.
yes,
Yeah. And that's,
definitely.
yeah. And to me, that's really the maturity of our, what is possible here, is
Yes,
that we can be okay and not okay, and life can be what it is. People can be what they are,
yes,
and we can still have preference. Even preference is okay.
yes, everything.
Everything is welcome, so to speak.
Yes, yes.
And people hear this, but it's actually true.
Yes, yes,
So I wish this for everybody who's listening.
yes. Yeah, well, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. So is there anything else you'd like to share before we conclude?
Well, just that I think that the first step, really, and even when one is gone pretty far, to that first step is always a nice thing to come back to, which is to come back to the inner stillness and this place that is, and to find it out for oneself about that
Yes,
place,
yes, yes,
and to discover it and to be honest about it, and to invite it to deepen, because what we give attention to grows, and this is a real fact, right?
yes,
So if we give attention to something like the presence of inner presence, or just our unmoving being, and if you give attention to that, it will grow, because it's just waiting for our attention. And once we really fall in love, it's a love affair.
yes,
So once you fall in love with this and you love it, and it's becomes something that's such a part of you that it's part of your everyday reality. So you can feel your being, you can feel that heart, or whatever way you want to say it. And feeling is actually a good direction to go in, that you can feel
yes,
it, until it's stabilized. And then you can ask yourself, is it here now when I'm doing dishes? Is it here now when I'm driving my car?
right,
Is it
right,
always
right.
here? And once that's really a yes, I can feel it all the time, then it starts to explore a little bit. Well, how about now, when you're doing this thing in the world that you was a little hard for you in the past?
Yes,
So that's I think that's the direction to go in, to start off with, and then to keep growing the ability to to know oneself as that in the midst of all of life, until it's so natural. It does end up becoming natural, like breathing.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Great, great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So is there anything we'll give this out too, and it'll be in the show notes, but is there any particular thing you want to draw people's attention to as a way to get in touch with you, or a way to explore this more with you?
Well, I have my website. Yeah. SusanneMarie.org. And I have everything's on there. I
Okay,
have my
good.
mentoring sessions, I have my groups, I have my retreats. everything's there, and lots of free content for people to enjoy.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Susanne Marie. You can learn more about Susanne at susannemarie.org. That's SUSANNEMARIE.org. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so you have immediate access to future episodes. Please give us a 5-star rating and share it with the people you care about. If you'd like to learn more about my work, my mentor Lester Levinson's work, and the Sedona Method, please visit www.sedona.com. As you explore our site, you'll learn the key to lasting happiness, success, peace, and emotional well-being. We have books, courses, events, and plenty of free material to explore. Again, go to sedona.com. That's SEDONA.com. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Letting Go and the Greatest Secret.